Greetings and thank you for joining us today for HOPE NCCU's Collegiate Recovery Monthly Livestream, where we focus on different behavioral and process addictions and positive coping strategies to avoid these issues. This month, we would like to focus on providing NCCU students with information and advice on a community resource that can give us a fantastic insight into mental health, substance use, and what their organization does for those within the community. My name is Julia Loud.
And I am Demia Millhouse.
We are both graduate assistants of the Collegiate Recovery Program here at North Carolina Central University.
Without further ado, we would like to introduce our special guest, LGBTA Resource Center Coordinator Eric Martin, and students of the NCCU Department of Diversity and Inclusion.
Hey, everybody.
Hi. Hello, everybody.
So, like I was saying, my name is Eric Martin. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the coordinator for the LGBT Resource Center here in the Department of Diversity and Inclusion. And with me, I have a plethora of students that I either work with closely, supervise, have personal relationships with. So I will allow them to introduce themselves. And if you all could just tell us your name and your major and your relation to diversity and inclusion so everyone knows who you are. So I think I see Andrea first.
Hey everyone, my name is Andrea, pronouns she, her. I'm a Spanish major with minors in political science and women and gender studies, and I serve as a lavender liaison for the Department of Diversity and Inclusion.
Awesome. And then I see Zamir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Zamir Vasquez. I'm a sophomore here at NCCU, and I am president of the Rice's Student Org.
Yes. And then there's Kwani.
Hi everyone, so my name is Connie Riquen Alfaro. I'm a junior and a political science major. My concentrations are in theory and pre-law and then I have a minor in global politics. I currently am doing two things as well on campus. So I'm a Crear Futuros mentor and I work alongside Miss Emily Guzman, who's the director of diversity and inclusion. And then I'm also vice president of Raices as well.
Ooh. And then we have Sami.
Hi everybody, my name is Samin. I'm a junior here at NCCU and I'm an elementary ed major. And I'm the president of the Muslim Student Association on campus.
And then Sabria.
Hello, I'm Sabria. I am a junior here at NCCU. My major is social work, and I have been with diversity inclusion, also the LGBTQ plus center for I think like a year and some change now. I'm a volunteer in the office. Yeah.
Thank you. And then Kamachi, we were just introducing ourselves. And so your name, your major, and your relation to the department.
So, hey everyone, I'm Kamakshi Villamuri. I'm majoring in interdisciplinary studies major. And my relation with diversity inclusion department, I've worked with Ms. Guzman on various collaborations with my student org and have been actively utilizing the resources with diversity inclusion, such as the Intercultural Center.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for being here and helping support Hope Recovery. But I'll turn it back over to y'all.
Thank you, everybody, for introducing yourselves. It is amazing to meet all of you. Amazing students. Donovan, you had a question?
Oh, I see Donovan. My bad. Go ahead, Donovan.
I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. My name is Donovan Stevenson. I am a senior political science major. I have a concentration in global politics and public policy. I'm not officially affiliated with the LGBTQ Center as a Lavender liaison, but I do like to come into the diversity and inclusion department. I enjoy the space, and I generally just like to come, see how I can help, ask if there's an extra set of hands that's ever needed, and just generally offer whatever support I can.
That's great. Nice to meet you, Donovan. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and dive into our questions. Please tell us about the resources that the Department of Diversity and Inclusion offers for students. And this is a question for everybody.
So I can go first if there's no kind of order. So for me, I personally utilize the Intercultural Center, which is a huge resource, along with the LGBTA Center. But with the Intercultural Center, we have the opportunity to reserve the space for any student org meetings or just hang out with their peers. So it's a resource to kind of network and connect with students on campus. Within the Intercultural Center is the meditation slash prayer room. So that's a big resource where we can just kind of, after a long day of academics and everything, that's a huge resource. So those are two resources I've used along with the actual team members, Mr. Great Eric and Miss Guzman.
I'll go next. I'll say some of the resource as well is like just a safe space for students to go to when they don't feel like when they feel overwhelmed on campus or when they feel like they don't fit in on campus, they could go to the LGBTQ center or the multicultural center and just hang there with other students who are like-minded and just be there in a comfortable space.
If I can go, um, I was going to piggyback off of what Samir just said. It's basically a safe space for students, all students. I feel like, even allies, but specifically of students of LGBTQ plus origins and just who identify under that umbrella. And also, I feel like it is also a resource for students who are trying to get more education and inclusivity on the campus.
I would also mention that through the Department of Diversity and Inclusion, I work as a desk assistant, which is a great way to volunteer your time. If you either want to get volunteer hours in, or as the others mentioned, I think it's a great way to meet other students at the university, right? If you have a lot of kids come to the desk to either ask questions or a lot of times to go to enter in the LGBTA Resource Center or the Intercultural Center, you have to sign in. I think that's a great way to just meet new faces and introduce those new students to other programming that we have at either center. And also it's a great way to get those volunteer hours in if need be.
And just to add my own point in, like everyone else has said, the center provides a great space for students to just enter a judgment-free zone, especially students with non-conforming identities. It allows people just to learn more about each other in a judgment-free zone. I've seen plenty of students kind of come out of their shell after a couple days or weeks of just kind of sitting in the LGBTQ center or intercultural center and not even engaging at first, just to be around other people and kind of fill that space. And it's really beautiful the way people are able to come out of their shells. But another resource they offer in the diversity and inclusion department is they also help students develop their own programs. I myself was able to throw a series of open mics last year with the help of diversity and inclusion. They helped me book the space, they helped me with the catering, they helped me with all the logistical information that would have been a struggle to do on my own. So not only does it provide a place of community, but it helps students build their own communities from that.
I definitely want to add on to that. I think basically what everyone has been saying has been very accurate. But I definitely enjoy also just Mr. Eric and Miss Guzman. I've been working really closely with them this semester, and I've been really enjoying getting to know them on a more personal basis as well. They're definitely people I go to when I need something, when I'm in need or in help of something. And they hear me out. They're very open-minded. And I know those are two people I can count on that won't give me any judgment based on what I'm needing help on. So I just feel like feel really close, and I feel like as though I can lean on them for something I need on any need of basis for campus. Um, I definitely feel as though like, it's also reflective on how the department has been doing as well. Because if you have staff members who you feel confident in to be able to go to for such issues, then you know how the department kind of runs. And I'm just glad that they're really open to students, regardless of their identity, regardless of their backgrounds. And I feel like that's just what makes the diversity and inclusion department work so well. And I've seen a lot of your faces around, and I know you've seen me around. And so that's how can we build those connections, being at the intercultural center or being in the LGBTQA center as well. And be like, hey, I've seen you around, or and that's how you kind of build connections with other students. So I feel like this is exactly like the resources that you need on campus. I partake in almost all resources on campus. So some of the resources I use is definitely I use Miss Guzman very often just because I do have to kind of be reporting to her based on my mentorship program. But even so, with Eric, I'm like, hey, I don't know if this is possible. Can I do this here in this room? And he's more open and he tells me, yeah, sure, you can do this or such events, or it's just a really great atmosphere. And I consider it my little safe haven on campus. So, um, yeah, that's something I really enjoy about the diversity inclusion.
Yeah, just to close it off, I just agree with what everybody's saying as well. I think it just serves a space where you can go and you can just let all the pressures of school, work, anything that's going on, and just let it go. And you just meet a variety of different people in the room whenever you go. So it's kind of like building branches. And also, like Eric and Miss Wazwan have just been great resources to go to, like when you need something or you don't really know what to do. They've been there to provide their support with whatever we may need.
And I would also add that the department also offers like programming for specifically for student leaders. So I know we have the unconscious bias and also safe zone workshops, which provides us like a foundation around maybe like to do and what not to do and what to be careful of when programming throughout the year. And I think that happens in the summer before the fall semester, just again to build that foundation, to build that basis off of those programmings. And then I know the department also, like a lot of students have mentioned, works closely with student organizations. So, for example, I know we have SFABA, Association of Students for Better Africa. There's Colors LGBTQ student-led organization. We have the Native American Indigenous Student Association. And like you mentioned, we have RAICES, which the department helps to like collaborate with and just give overall support to the organizations as well. And then I want to say sophomore year, I participated in a diversity, equity, and inclusion like focus group where we were able to meet with staff at the university and kind of express our concerns about about issues related to like diversity and inclusion, issues that the university that we thought the university could handle better. And through that meeting with staff and faculty at the university, I think it allowed us to speak to people that maybe we wouldn't normally come in contact with, and it allowed a better relationship between maybe like higher up faculty and student body, and it allowed us to, I think, to bridge that gap a lot better. And then from that focus group, they were able to create a campus-wide survey, which further allows students to express concerns and express maybe further needs that they felt weren't being met at the university. And then from that survey, the university was able to implement certain initiatives and certain like other programmings to again help meet those needs of the students. So just create a better sort of like relationship and camaraderie between students and staff of the university.
To add on to that, I just have one more point. Um, they mentioned, I really personally benefited from the unconscious bias workshop, like the microaggression workshop. So I really feel like those kind of workshops and trainings they really provide with complete presentations and training is very useful and helpful to us.
I think to add from the staff perspective, I think really the most important thing for me, in addition to everything that you all have said, is to continue to make sure that you all have spaces for your intersecting identities. So a large part of what we do here is to make sure that everybody can bring a part of who they are, whatever that identity may be. And so we were very intentional when we moved to the student center about having an intercultural space, because we are the Department of Diversity and Inclusion, and diversity and inclusion means so many things. So we want to make sure that we provide all of those things, or as many of those things as possible, for all of our students. So it's even nice to see, all of the faces that I see pretty much on a daily basis in different capacities all in one place, because it demonstrates how all of your identities show up, and how we work together to make sure that all of you all are being fed in your very niche and specific ways.
And I want to thank you all for that great insight. Demia and I actually got the opportunity to visit the center about a month or so ago, and I will say you all do a great job of making the space inclusive and also a safe space. And that brings us to our next question, and this one is designated for Eric. How can different departments, organizations, and even individuals on campus work to create a diverse and inclusive environment for all?
I think I can't do anything for students without students. And I think that that has to involve lots of conversation about what it is that they all like. So I'll ask some of these folks, or even some of the folks that I see every day, just like, what do y'all like? Like, college was very different for me, a few years ago. And so I have to be mindful of that. Or like, what are you passionate about? And I think it might have been Donovan that mentioned the programming. So for a lot of my students, I'm just like, hey, what are you passionate about? Do you want to turn that into a program? And kind of giving them the tools necessary to develop their own programming. Or if they have any questions, like Connie mentioned, the mentorship program, like we give them full autonomy to do what it is that they would like to do. And I think that that is very intentional, right? Like Emily and I, we could say, hey, go do this, and because there's a respect factor there, they'll do it. But is that really serving not only the students that I work with, but also the students that they're working with and the larger population? So I think that any department who really wants to be, a part of the DEI work, because we all are, right? Like diversity and inclusion is all of our responsibility, but you have to involve the populations that you're trying to include, right? You can't say, I want to work with queer students and then not have queer students, input. You can't say I want to work with, Hispanic and Latino students and I have Hispanic and Latino students input, or international students, or non-Christian students, where have you. There are lots of identities, that are on campus. But if you want to reach those populations, you have to bring them into the room. And so that's why we're really intentional about the space that we use and the space that we have, which is why, we made sure to keep a space for students who needed any type of prayer or silence. We made sure that we kept a space for students who might be outside of the LGBT community, while also still keeping a space for students that are in the LGBT community, right? Sometimes all of that is together, right? You might have a student that is, queer and not Christian and needs a space to pray, right? There can be so many variations of, diverse identities. And so my job personally is to make sure that we offer as much as possible, right? Nobody's a professional in this work, but we try to be as close to professional as possible.
Great, thank you so much. I think including students in conversations and how departments should go about including students for continuing information for them is a great idea. It's a great tool to have. Do you feel like the Department of Diversity and Inclusions has impacted your mental health in a positive way? And this is for any student.
It definitely has impacted my mental health. And I personally, when I was in a situation on campus where I needed help, the first person I had to really supportive and gave me the support I needed for academics or just focus on mental. So I definitely think meeting with Eric or Ms. Guzman has been really helpful because they're, like they all mentioned for a previous question, they're very open-minded. So the resources or even themselves as individuals provide the safe space for mentoring and just like actively listening. And so that's really good. And like I previously mentioned, the microaggression workshop is one thing that kind of connects to the mental health resource. So for me, it has definitely impacted me in a positive way.
Um, I'd like to speak to this as well. I think that personally, the center has provided me with so many various opportunities for personal growth, whether that's in my professional life, whether that's in my academics, or whether that's socially. There have been a lot of opportunities for me to grow and change and become a better person and become better to the people around me because of the things I've learned from Eric and Ms. Guzman and all of the experience that I've had with the various people I've met in the center. Well, in terms of the programming I met earlier, or I mentioned earlier, I ran into a lot of roadblocks during that process in terms of securing space, securing food, making flyers, getting those out, distribution, all of it. It's not easy, but having people to fall back on and people to lean on in a non-judgmental space really only gives you an opportunity to grow. Um, so whenever things weren't handled properly or whenever like I could find some room for improvement, it would just allow me to find that without necessarily having to worry about, not meeting expectations or not doing good enough. It was just an opportunity for growth and honest feedback.
And I think for me, as a staff member, right, who is also very much human, just having this job and interacting, with the students, it really changes. Like, there's been days where I'm trying to hide the fact that I'm in a very crappy mood, right? Because you have to go to work, and obviously, like, the students don't deserve my crappy mood, but then just having to interact with them, and it changes the way that I approach the day. And it makes me feel a lot better, right? Because sometimes it's hard when you have to be on, right? Especially when you have a job like I do, where it's just like there's a lot of peopling every day, right? But then when you are days where you just don't have it, and you all have it for me, it's just like that is a very rewarding experience to like see all of y'all faces and be like, all right, I'm actually glad to see y'all today.
I definitely want to add, so I'm a transfer student, and I transferred about, actually this fall will be exactly a year that I transferred, and definitely like my improvement as I've gone throughout the semesters that I've been here at Central have really impacted me, and I think the Intercultural Center has really had a positive impact on that because now I know a lot more faces. Definitely network with a lot more people now than I did when I first started here. I definitely think that it impacted me in a way of now I have people I know. I have this just mixture of different kinds of people I know that I didn't know before. And it can be really hard being a transfer student because I'm not a traditional student, so it's already a rough start trying to find a space on campus as it is, and finding your like group of people in which you are going to be a part of. But definitely now that I've been at the diversity inclusion and the intercultural center very often, I feel as though now I've had a better interaction, I've had a better experience at Central, and I think it's really improved my way of coming to school and just really enjoying it because I look forward to always coming to the Interculture Center, knowing that I'm going to interact with somebody or get to know somebody new. And that's the way I've also been kind of recruiting for my orgs too as well, like students who have who have just based on conversations we've been able to interact and say like, oh well, they kind of describe the interest, and I tell them about the orgs I'm a part of on campus, even give them resources that have helped me go through several problems I've had on campus. So it's just like that exchange of resources between students who might not know that there are those types of resources on campus. And I definitely, even if they don't know where the Intercultural Center or Diversity Inclusion Center is on campus, I always tell them like that is the best space you can be at whenever you feel like you need help. So I've always told any student across campus like go there. I promise you you'll feel really well. You'll feel as though you have this community of people that kind of like a small little space on campus. So I think in that way it has caused me to have a positive reaction to being on campus and having just this space where I can be in. So
I just want to add to her point, an example of her point. Yesterday, someone that has never been in the Intercultural Center has visited us, and I was there with Connie, and they were like, I need to come back here more often. And it's just like when you enter, it gives that positive vibe. So like they didn't even know what it is or ever experienced it, but the positive vibe, the people and everyone have made that impact to like a point where when you enter, you want to just continue coming back. So I just wanted to say that.
I would also add that I know how earlier we were discussing how like the individuals themselves are also kind of forms of support for us. I remember speaking personal experience. I think I had gone abroad my junior year fall semester, but I remember like before that in my sophomore year, I hadn't really known anything about going abroad. But Miss Guzman was the one to introduce me to going abroad, to being like about what that was like because she had done it as well in her college career. So I think just having her as a resource and having her introduce me to what going abroad was, and we were able to talk about it. We had meetings a few times throughout the month, a few times throughout the semester, just talking about what it would entail. And well, I think those meetings and those conversations really helped me to, I think, not see going abroad as such like a scary thing, right? To see it as something achievable, something that I could do, and something that I could accomplish. And then through her, I was able to get connected with the International Education Office and International Resources. I was able to speak with them and kind of use their resources as well. So not only the Department of Diversity and Inclusion, not only are there resources within the department, but I think they're also able to give you resources that are the university that exist throughout the university, and that can further help to improve your mental health and further help to improve your experience here at Central as well.
I think for me, it's been a very positive experience since I've been with the Diversity and Inclusion Center and also the LGBTQA Resource Center. Um, like we were saying before, it is a safe space for us to just really come and, let our hair loose, but it's also not a restricting space. Like, there's rules of course, but there's like minimal rules to where it's just like it's common sense to not do certain things in the center, but where we can just like come and be ourselves without any restrictions and how if trying to fit into a box of like how to be a student or how to be this or how to be that. So it's very open space. And I remember I wanted to be a part of a space where I can like freely create and get ideas, especially because like I'm a social work major, so I'm very interested in like open discussion and talking about things that are taboo in society. So yeah, I wanted a space where I could freely do that and create and get ideas on how to reach our community on campus. Granted, I'm also a part of the Women's Center, so they allow me to do that as well. But that's definitely when I became like a lavender liaison, and I've definitely appreciated the role ever since. So they've had a great impact on my mental health and just especially just being around Black queer people. Like it's just something different about that. So yeah.
I would like to say that within the diversity and inclusion department, there are many different organizations that students can join to find a place where they fit in. And just being inside those student organizations, they knowing that you're in a same space with other people who have the same interests as you can be uplifting to your spiritual and your mental health. So I think it's a good place to go, make friends, network, meet new people, because all of that is beneficial to your mental health.
That's a good segue into our next question. Speaking of mental health, if you use it, how has the existence of the reflection/prayer room affected you as a student? And if you haven't used it, how do you think that space can be beneficial for other students?
Hi. So honestly, like as a Muslim, we're required to pray 5 times a day, right? And it was really difficult for a lot of the Muslims on campus to find a space to do that, because you have to be like in a cleansed area or like have prayer mats, and like a lot of those resources aren't readily available for some people. And like if they did find a space to pray, it would be out in the open, like and find a whole bunch of people, like you just had to do it because there are certain timings. Um, and I remember like coming to like the diversity and inclusion program and being like, hey, like, or like actually they had reached out to us and be like, hey, like, I know this is something that you guys need. Like, how can we help you? And it was like really, we were really appreciative of that because like there's only been like certain instances where people kind of acknowledge that like that's something that we need to do and we need a space for that. And so I've seen like so many people put that room to use, and actually use it. And like it's been put to use so much that like we actually have people trickling out of the room on certain days as well because so many people come together to pray. And also it's just kind of like even if you're not coming there to pray, it's kind of just like a quiet space for you to reflect for a second. Like I know sometimes like after I'm done praying, like I'll just sit in there for a minute because it's quiet, it's peaceful, and it just kind of allows me to like regroup and kind of just like um relax for a second. And so I think it's like really been beneficial for me and just the Muslim population on campus as well.
I
I
actually
agree.
think, oh,
Go ahead.
sorry. I was gonna say, I actually think that's a beautiful point that I honestly never thought of. I never used the prayer room before, so, um, but I'm pretty sure it's a great resource for students to just go in and let their hair down and really try to like release from today or the last day before. And like I said, I never thought about the Muslim community and how they may need that. And I honestly think that that goes back to because I learned this year actually the difference between diversity and inclusion. I feel like society we kind of like jump them together, but it's kind of like they have a differentiation. And me learning like diversity is about like caring about who is in the room, and inclusion is actually like taking time out to know who's in the room, but also like curating events to help everybody and make sure everybody is feeling safe and heard. So I feel like that was a great addition to the center.
Oh, it's well said. And for me, personally, I agree with what's her name? Samin. I don't know if I pronounced it right, but basically, I've seen one day where the entire intercultural room, along with the prayer room, was filled with people. So it is very useful, and a lot of people on campus utilize it. I personally started utilizing it really yesterday, as I wanted to get into more of my mental health space and do yoga or meditation. So it's a great quiet place for us to just reflect and for the Muslim population of students to utilize for their self, I guess.
Thank you so much, guys, for that insight on the prayer room. We were able to take a quick peek into the prayer room when we visited, and we really thought it was a great opportunity for students and for students to be able to have that safe space for their religion and other opportunities for themselves. We think it is a great tool for all students that everybody should really know about. Our next question is, have you encountered students who have expressed a need for additional support or mental health concerns? If so, what resources have you referred to students who have expressed mental health concerns or in need of additional support? And that question is for Eric.
I was gonna say that sounds like a question for me. um, yes, the plain answer is yes. I try to approach all of the work that I'm doing with leading with the fact that all of my students are humans who have other things going on, including school, but also outside of school. And so I've had many situations where we'll just be in casual conversation, and if it's above me, it's above me, and that's totally okay. Like I also tell students, I can help you as much as I can, but have you also considered talking to someone about it? Have you considered counseling? And so I've referred students to the counseling center. I've also, referred students or given them the options like if you are, not comfortable with the counselors here, also consider the other options that you may have. If we're talking about students that are in the queer community, I've given them resources for the LGBT Center in Durham or Raleigh, depending on where they live if they don't live on campus. So it happens. There are lots of students with intersecting identities that just need more than what Emily or I can provide here, and that's totally okay. We have a list of resources that we can refer out to, just in our personal networks, which, can become helpful because life happens outside of campus, right? And so we want to make sure that, again, like I keep saying, that students are being fed in those variety of ways. So it starts here, and then through assessment, I'm just like, okay, here's what I know, here's who I know, and then also being honest with not knowing, right? I think also a lot of times students expects us to have the answers, which makes sense because I'm the one behind the desk, but I'm also human. So I'm just like, I don't know, but let's find out. And so there's been numerous times where even the folks here, if they come to talk to me first, I'm like, I don't know, but Emily does. And so we'll walk over to Emily's office and she'll do the same to me. Right. She was like, I don't know, but Eric does. And then she'll walk them over to my office and then we'll kind of brainstorm and work it out together. And then if both of us don't know, then we'll work it out. But, it's still a process of figuring out together, but then also with the student, right? Because like I said, we can't do anything for the students without the students. And so those are always our biggest concern.
Yes, thank you so much. And I think it was a great point that you made in recognizing that the resources outside of campus as well and being able to provide those resources to students in need. I think that's extremely important, especially, after their time within college ends, setting them up, with resources that they can utilize outside of campus is great. And before we conclude, this next question is for everyone. Is there anything else that you all would like to share with our audience? This can be upcoming events, organizations, just anything that you guys wanted to plug in. We wanted to provide that time and opportunity to do so.
So, again, I was gonna say for the question that he just answered, as a student leader, there were times where I was also asked, students came to me to ask about what resources I referred them to Ms. Guzman and counseling center. Most importantly, like a lot of them, some of them are introverts, so I had to refer them to the texting option of the National Suicide Prevention, National Mental Health along with the community-based or specifically NCCU-based resources. So as the levels of NCCU to community, Durham community to like the national resources we have for the suicide prevention or mental health with the texting lines or like just the call for help. Those were what I had suggested. As far as other things to conclude from my perspective we're actually doing another microaggression workshop with diversity inclusion from my student org, or the student org I'm president of with Universal Vidya. So that's this month, and I forgot the date, but I can put that in the chat when I figure it out.
Shameless plug about the drag show. The homecoming drag show is November 1st. So I'm not sure when this will be up before, but if it's up before, definitely come to the drag show. It'll be a good time. November 1st. First come, first serve. We'll get there early if you're interested.
I would also like to plug the Women's Center. Of course, it's in the name, but and for them identifying students. But honestly, it's a safe space for everybody to really go in and get some help and use it as a resource as well. I would also say the mental health center, not the mental health center, sorry, the counseling center. I have also used that this year, and it's been actually very beneficial. I feel like students kind of turn their nose up to it, but if you need help, definitely go talk to somebody in there. And lastly, I would also say the campus pantry. I feel like a lot of people kind of pay them dust, and I was one of them. Like I never really went in there, but especially if you have like dietary restrictions, I know that they give you like money, I think, to go shopping, to go grocery shopping, which I actually just found out. And I'm a pescatarian myself, so I don't eat meat. So that's very beneficial, and they have a lot of stuff and opportunities in there to actually go and volunteer with them. So yeah.
I don't have any organization. Well, actually, I do have something to plug. It is voting season. If y'all aren't registered to vote, if y'all aren't prepared to vote, I urge you to do so, to get registered and to become politically active. Diversity in spaces like this are only possible through that sort of political engagement. You have to reach out to your mayors, to your city councilors, to your state politicians to ensure that not only your community has the funding, but also has just this space and the resources to create something. Um, I think this work is incredibly beneficial because not only does it allow non-conforming students with an opportunity to grow, but it also allows conforming students an opportunity to kind of reflect on themselves and to see gaps in their understanding that they might be able to bridge. We saw an example of it in here today when Sabria said, "Oh, I never realized that about Muslim students. I never recognized that was a need they might have." Now you can tell from that she's going to operate differently now that she has a better understanding of their needs. Or, and that kind of thing is just beautiful. It helps everybody grow. It helps everybody become a more well-rounded person. And it helps everybody excel a little bit more, knowing that they can navigate those spaces a bit easier.
Well, I kind of want to plug, I guess, the two things that I'm in currently doing. So, for any of the freshmen that are watching this, we have a mentorship this semester. We're starting it. It's brand new. It's a great mentorship program. I'm a mentor, and there's 3 other mentors that are upperclassmen that are working really hard to provide students actually like resources like this, um, and ensure their success and their retention. If you guys are interested, please reach out to Ms. Guzman, who's the Director of Diversity and Inclusion. She's the one overseeing this program. And if you guys know about any freshmen that are in need of a mentor, honestly, it doesn't really have to necessarily be academics. It could just really be someone they need to kind of help them, guide them through their first freshman year. They do have to be freshmen. They can't be classified as a sophomore. So just that's something to be put out there. Of course, this mentorship program is really great, and I hope that we reach out to more freshmen because I know as a freshman, I did a lot of mistakes. I did not know a lot of my resources on campus. So I think this is a great program. And what's better than having one-on-one personalized goals with somebody who's a mentor? So definitely that. And like we said, me and Zamir are part of Raices as well. So I don't know if Zamir wanted to plug in some of the events that we've got going on. So Raíces is the Latinx org that we have on campus as well. We're Latinx based, but we're not Latinx exclusive. So we're definitely taking all students from all backgrounds because we definitely want to be inclusive of all students. That's part of the reason why Ms. Guzman is actually our advisor. And we are under the realm of diversity and inclusion because we want to empower students about their backgrounds and their cultural backgrounds. So I don't know if Zamir wants to kind of highlight some of the events we got going on.
Yeah, so yeah, like Connie said, we are having events, so we're gonna have a cultural game night event for students to come out and just learn about the Hispanic culture and just emerge in it. And also, we're gonna have a Latin dance night as well for students to come out and learn more about the Latin culture and be immersed into it. I also want to say that for students to take advantage of all the departments and resources that are on campus because they can take you a far, far way. There are many opportunities out here in the world, and NCCU provides so many bridges for you to be able to get into those opportunities. So I would definitely say take advantage of everything that there is on campus because they could be the stepping stone for your career.
Sorry, just wanted to add one little thing. Yeah. So I represent the MSA, and I know it's like a religious org for like Muslims, but of course, like, we're open to having anybody and everybody who's interested or who just needs a space. A lot of people feel intimidated because it is a religious org, but I just wanted to say that we're welcoming to anybody, and it's a space for anybody to feel welcome.
I would also like to add um, that if students have the capacity to also consider being like a lavender liaison. I know Sabria talked about this a little bit in her conversations, but I think it allows you to be in community with a lot of specifically like queer, I mean, and non-queer individuals on campus, and allows you to further build that community and build further personal relationships with those students. And then not only that, as Eric mentioned, it allows you to incorporate your personal interests into kind of whatever you want to make it as central, but it allows you to like to create programming, to create events, maybe even like create posts on Instagram, on other social medias for the LGBTA and diversity inclusion Instagram accounts. I think it allows you to get what you're interested about and what you're creative about and just kind of put that out into the NCCU community. I think that's a great way to get involved.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you all for all the information and the insight that you have provided us today. I think you guys are amazing students and you guys are doing an amazing job at getting more resources out for students and trying to include everybody of all identities and different diasporas. Please follow us up on all of our social media platforms. Follow us on Instagram at NCCU_Collegiate Recovery and at NCCU_Counseling Center, and on Facebook at facebook.com/NCCU Counseling Center. Also, be on the lookout for our next monthly live stream and our upcoming events like our Silver Tailgate on October 26th at 3 p.m. in the Greek Bowl. Okay, everybody have a great day. I hope you guys are going to have an amazing week. It was great meeting everybody.
Oh, sorry.